Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Leesburg Center for the Arts. My name is Rod Patchett, and I tried to decide what I will be doing tonight. I'm not performing, which is my usual routine here. Tonight, I will be what I'm going to call the tour guide. I'm going to guide us through our evening. And many of you, I recognize your faces as being here last year. We did our first annual Songwriters Night, and really enjoyed our time together. And this thing started a little over a year ago, and it kind of came out of a little bit of a copy of a neat thing that goes on up in Nashville, Tennessee, with the professional and some amateur songwriters up there, and it happens at the Bluebird Cafe. And they get a group of songwriters together, and they get up on a stage like this with just acoustic guitars, usually, maybe a piano. And they just perform their songs and they talk about their music. And it's just a really neat opportunity to just kind of hear songwriters, what's going on in their mind, what led to certain songs that you may have heard, and the whole process of songwriting. And I have a burden here as a member of the board here at the Leesburg Center for the Arts that we develop original music. And I play out around town and in different places, and I find that people don't want to hear my songs. They want to hear cover songs. Do you guys hear that?
Yes.
All the time.
They want to hear the cover songs. They want to hear me do other people's songs, which is great. I love doing that. But it's just very rare that I get asked, will you do one of your songs? And I think that that's just the culture that we have put ourselves into. In the musical culture, is just that the musicians do other people's songs. And that's great, but we have not created a culture as we have with our visual art that people want to come to things like this and hear your original songs. So I'm hoping that this will become a forum that is enjoyable, entertaining for people, that they will want to come back, invite other people, and then we can do this on a regular basis, and we can just elevate the idea of the song. And I was thinking as I was preparing for this today, that when I think back and I ask somebody, and this is with all respect to every other art form, which I highly value and appreciate, but you don't say when you get together, if you're on your 30th wedding anniversary, remember our painting? Never heard that. You say, remember our song? And you can hear a song and it can take you to an immediate memory of a time and a place and a thing that was going on in your life. So songs are important. And original songs and original artwork, as you know, here at the center, we have a passion for developing both within our community and just the awareness and the value of it in our society. So that's kind of the context of what we're going to be doing tonight. And we've asked two great performers to come this evening and be with us. And one is Emma Wallace.
And the other is Joshua Glenn Wilson. If you look Joshua Glenn Wilson up, you'll find him. But tonight I will be referring to him as Josh. So that's way too fancy for me. So I can only handle single syllabic phrases. So I will refer to you as Josh.
What is that about musicians? We just can't handle many syllables at a time.
I can't, no. All right, so to begin with, I just wanted to let them get to know you a little bit. Emma, tell us where you're from.
Originally I'm from Chicago, and then, but I just say that. I actually have been here since I was 3, so. But you know, originally I was from Chicago, and I grew up on the Space Coast, and then I live in Orlando now, and so.
Great.
That's pretty much.
All right, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit about how you got started in songwriting, and did you always write songs, or did at some point in your life you were singing, playing other people's, and then you decided, oh, I'm going to write this, and how did you get into it in the first place?
Well, I've always been a performer. I performed when I was 3 in front of my grandparents' church singing, you know. But when you're 3, you feel a little different than you do when you're 13 and then 23 and stuff. But I actually did improv comedy and performance in Seattle, and then I had moved back from Seattle because my heart had been broken, of course. I was 20. That's what you're supposed to do when you're 20. And,
So you wrote a song.
Exactly. I wrote a song, and it was terrible. It was awful. I actually referred to our love affair as a fabulous fling. It's true. And but I was telling my mom how all I wanted to do in my life was be Sting. A simple thing, you know, is just to be Sting. And she said, well, Sting writes his own music, so you have to write your own music. So that's the only thing standing in my way of being Sting, was writing my own music, apparently. So I went home and wrote a song, and that was April 15th, 2002, so tax day, yeah. So it's almost been 11 years. Yeah, very good with math, guys.
Do you still perform that song?
I do, actually. It's kind of a ballad, so when I play out, I often don't play ballads because they're slow, which is the whole ballad thing. But yeah, I have it, and it's still out there. So yeah, the first one was good. The next 10 weren't, but the first one was pretty good.
I'll tell you what, so that we can get to know you and we can kick off the evening, would you mind starting with that?
All right.
I told them I didn't know how this was going to go. I might ask them to do this or that, and we would just roll with it. So she didn't know I was going to ask her that, but here we go. What's this called?
It's called Evening Prayers. It's a ballad, though, guys, so you know that. It's not high energy. You won't be dancing. Alone I spend another night. I close my book, I dim the light, I wait for sleep to numb my lonely ache. No rest I find inside my bed, no rest but yearning thoughts instead. And when I sleep, my heart is still awake. Longing dances through my evening prayers. She ties my wrists and ankles to the bed. Her fingertips start a hunger that can only be filled, never numbed. Longing robs you of your peace, a discontent that will not cease. Through thoughts of comfort she will take. But I have faith in God above. I have faith I'll find my love. And when I sleep, my heart is still awake. Yes, I have faith in God above. I have faith that I'll find my love, and I hope I'm right. My whole heart is at stake. But faith and hope are hard to keep, and all this time I'm losing sleep. And when I sleep, my heart is still awake. Longing dances through my evening prayers. She ties my wrists and ankles to the bed. Her fingertips start a hunger that can only be filled,
you, Emma. I love that lyric, when you're asleep, your heart is still awake. That's great. That was nice. So Emma, tell me, you said that you wanted to be Sting. What about
true.
Sting drew you to him?
He's perfect, pretty much. So we are
I'm a
drawn to
big Sting
perfection, I
fan
think,
too,
as
so.
a human. His stuff is so. I can spend a whole. Do we have like 7 hours for me to talk about Sting? But his stuff is so intelligent. His lyrics are based off of literature and philosophy and religion, and then he's got a really nice sense of humor and irreverence in his stuff. And then his melodies are just amazing, and he can play with all kinds of different genres, and yet still, it's Sting. Not only because of his voice, but just you can kind of, hear his sensibility, which I just think is amazing. And like songs that nobody even knows that are like hidden on an album, or you just listen to and you're like, "Whoa." That's the technical term.
I like him, but I've never gone, "Ooh-ah." So,
You haven't
but I
listened to the
do
right
like him a
songs
lot,
yet, no?
I guess. So Joshua, tell us about us. You're from Orlando originally, or you moved here?
I actually grew up in Jacksonville.
Okay.
I'm a Navy kid. My dad was stationed there. We moved around a lot when I was a kid. But I came here for computer sciences. Since third grade, I just wanted to do software engineering. And then a year in, I realized I really sucked at it. So that's when I got into music. I took piano lessons when I was like 15 or so, but I had the stereotype piano teacher. She held a poodle and she was dabbing her makeup the whole time. It was just, I wish that was like an attempt at a punchline, but that was literally how the lessons went. And she just always wanted me to play hymns. I have nothing against hymns, but a 14, 15-year-old kid wants to play like flashy stuff to get the girl, not like, our God in heaven. So it was tricky. Anyway, yeah, so started playing piano more seriously around college time. I saw Billy Joel live in 2006, I think, and that was when I was like, that's what I want to do. So I started really playing a bit. I got into the jazz studio at UCF, and I've just been gigging around ever since.
Very cool. All right, Josh, I would love for you to do a piece just so we can kind of get to know you a little bit.
Sure. The difficulty, when I was invited here, it didn't occur to me that songs actually had lyrics, because I am primarily an instrumentalist, and that's because, just like you said, most of us make our living playing other people's songs. So usually, whenever we write our own stuff, it gets tossed to the side. So when they said, you get to play your own stuff tonight, I was like, oh, I gotta find that stuff. I have no idea under what piles of dust that might actually be. And you write the best songs when you're going through some struggle, like some lost love and that sort of thing. And I don't think I've ever been off antidepressants long enough to be able to really allow myself to experience much pain. So by the time I finally get like a verse out, I'm like, I feel so much better now. That's good. Okay, I'll finish writing that one when I'm unhappy again. So most of the tunes that I have tonight, they might have like one verse of like, this sucks. And that's the end of the song. So, but I like to comfort myself by thinking I'm sort of I'm an Elton John that's just looking for his Bernie Taupin, that I can take lyrics and put some good music to them, and I really love trying to capture emotion or sensuality or an ambiance or environment or just this sense through music, through moving sounds around together. Because as musicians, that's really what we do, is instead of, if I was a poet, and I was just talking to you about this, I wouldn't just say, I'm happy. I would say, I'm exultant, I'm jubilant, I'm overwhelmed by the clouds of joy that are streaming through my hair, And in the same way, it's sort of our responsibility to find different ways to say the same thing musically. I just suck at that in lyrics. So I've got a couple different arrangements of tunes.
And I'm going to ask you, because Sting is a favorite of mine, the Beatles are also a huge favorite of mine, and I love your arrangement of Norwegian Wood. Would you mind playing that for us?
Yeah, sure. I can give that a shot. There's a piano. It's exciting.
Beautiful.
Life lesson for all of us that comes through music. You mentioned Sting. You just played a Beatles song. And in both instances, these are pop artists who made their music very accessible for the masses, but they went outside of the typical avenues of pop music to find inspiration and to bring different things into their music. And life lesson for us, don't always look to the same places for your inspiration. You know, stretch outside of the box. Go watch a movie that might not be something that you would typically be drawn to. Read a book that might have a little bit of difficult language that you've got to push through. But stretch yourself. And I think artistically, we can, as just the general society, we can learn from artists who have made their music be a lot more lasting because they didn't get stuck into the same comfortable rut of what they were doing. They looked for different influences.
Yeah, I read in an article that after 25, you basically listen to the same, like that's it. Like you stop at 26, you listen to no new music. I mean, I'm sure there's probably
Because you have kids.
Exactly, that's true. You're listening to Raffi, basically, is what you're listening to. But but I thought that was after I read that. I'm like, no, I'm past 25. I better start listening to new music. So, I mean, I do listen to lots of music, but my mom's Brazilian, so I listen to a lot of like bossa nova and stuff like that. Jobim, yeah. So, and then
Very
jazz,
cool.
of course.
Yep.
So,
All right, Emma had a little girl, did you say 2 years ago?
a little boy.
A little boy 2 years ago?
Yep, 2.5. Yeah.
Okay, tell me how pre and post having a child has affected your songwriting.
Well, I get a chance. I don't really drink before I songwrite, so what I do now is sleep deprivation to help get me into that place of. I mean, I didn't know. I had always thought, for a first year you don't sleep. I didn't realize it lasts. It's 2.5, and I'm still not sleeping. So, but you know, it's. I mean, well, the big thing actually is that we kind of do a Mad Libs thing because I literally, to get him to sleep, I bounce him on an exercise ball. I don't know how we started doing this. And at like 2 months, it was really cute, but now he's 2.5, and that's still how I get him to sleep at night. But he asks for songs, so he'll be like, whatever happened during the day, where he'll be like, truck and bird and, you know, his friend, Brandon. And so then I have to write a song about the truck and the bird and Brandon to get him to sleep. And if I forget, he's like, no, Brandon. I'm like, okay. How am I going to work this? And then like halfway through, he'll be like stars and moons. And now I have to work a second verse in there. And for me, I try to make it rhyme. I'm like, okay, I've got to make it rhyme. And I used a minor key tonality last night. Let me try and do this one in an upbeat way, you know. And so it's been really nice because then if I actually get an assignment to write a certain song, I'm like, psh, you guys only want me to write about one thing, which is summer. I can do that because, so that's really helped.
All right, I want both of you guys to answer this question, but in your songwriting, how much of it is what you would say autobiographical, and how much is just you writing about something that you see, maybe more editorial or whatever?
For me, I mean, I have actually a very, very happy life. So as far as like writing like tortured songs, I'd have to go kind of non-autobiographical. What I typically do is I kind of role play. Like I wrote a song from the standpoint of like that quote that Ginger Rogers said where she danced backwards in high heels. And so everything that Fred Astaire did, I could do. I did it backwards in high heels. And so I wrote a song. Okay, how would Ginger Rogers write a song? And then there's a character of Helena from Midsummer Night's Dream. I wrote a song based on her monologue, and I find that much easier than, because then I obviously it's going to have some autobiographical stuff but I'm able to kind of put myself into that place and see, okay, how would that person have said it? And it helps to give me something to write about.
I would say most of my stuff's sort of autobiographical, and it's tough when you're no longer in that place of pain or joy when you were writing it initially. But I think for me personally, to have any sort of truth to the tune that I'm writing, that it would have to be something that I experienced even lightly. I mean, even if it's some, romance or lost a friend or lost a father like years ago, then you can open yourself up and experience that emotionally again as you're writing. But I think personally, most of my stuff has to have, even if it's not historically accurate, it is, I would say, emotionally accurate at some point in time. Does that make sense?
Okay, Emma, I'd like to hear another song from you.
Thank you.
Would you do something that one of the things that you just referred to as you were putting yourself into another role? Would
Sure.
you do one of those songs?
Do you guys feel like Fred Astaire, or do you feel like Shakespeare? Fred Astaire,
Definitely,
all right.
I'm not smart enough for Shakespeare. Fred Astaire.
Now I live day to day, most of us live that way. There's jobs to work and chores to shirk and those bills to pay. I'm tired of this routine, I want a different scene. To sit and sigh as life goes by just isn't for me. I'll dance backwards in high heels and perfect hair. Twirl my twirls in satin negligee if you'll be my Fred Astaire. Martinis and champagne, dancing in the rain, at each soiree, gay repartee, each summer in Spain. Why be content with less than life lived at its best? The safe and sane may choose mundane, but let's effervesce, baby. I'll dance backwards in high heels and perfect hair. Twirl my twirls in satin negligee if you'll be my Fred Astaire. Let's have a glamorous romance. Who cares if we dance to the beat of a different drum? Ba-dum, 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 ba-dum. I'll dance backwards in high heels and perfect hair. Twirl my twirls in satin negligee if you'll be my Fred Astaire. I'll dance backwards in high heels and perfect hair. Twirl my twirls in satin negligee if you'll be my Fred Astaire.
Thank you.
Josh, I want to ask you to do one of your songs that you've worked through the lyrics on. And Josh told me when we spoke earlier that he begins songs and has a hard time getting all the way through them. And it made me think of something after we talked. One of the last songs that I wrote was called Notes on Napkins.
Mm-hmm.
And it refers to all those little tidbits of song ideas that you get, and you write them on the back of a receipt or a napkin when you're driving down the road in the car, and you get this idea and you scramble it down. But would you share one of your tunes with us?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Okay, that'd be great.
The worst is when you write them down on something that's not like waterproof and then you spill the coffee all over it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
No idea what that was. Show will go on. Actually, I had a question for you.
Yes.
Do you normally find yourself attracted to particular keys? Like when you're writing in minor, do you always drift towards G minor, or writing in major, always an F or B flat or something?
Yes, I try to do things differently, but I'm always into flats. I
Oh.
really like flats. They seem easier, like more relaxed. Like sharps are like, wah! Where like flats are like, yeah, it's a flat.
It's got to be a woman thing. I mean, just preferring flats.
For those that don't know, the guitar players love sharps,
Sad
the
but
horn
true.
players love flats, and keyboard players, it's whatever mood they're in.
We just like C. Quite the lovely just the other day, so nice on the eyes, I had to say, hey baby, wanna go for a ride? And as these stories kinda tend to go, we hit it off and we hit the road. I knew this baby would never leave my side, but it seems I'm not the kind of man that she thought I was at all. Every day she's glowing at my chest. Now I'm 6 months in this goddamn brawl, and Jesus Christ himself would say, oh boy, just give it a rest. But it's a night after night, fight after fight, keep the boiler burning till the broad daylight. Night after night, fight after fight, we'll be scratching and clawing till everything is alright. And then we made up, so I got nothing left, but haven't heard from her in a year or so. So I hope she's doing well, but she's probably off sleeping with 17 other guys, because that's completely within her idiom. And it seems I'm not the kind of guy that she really wanted at all. Turns out that I'm not a millionaire banker that can just provide for a girl at the age of 18. But she's a vocalist, so I really don't know what she had to complain about. In the first place, it's not like she makes money anyway. She just rips off all the money she can get from whoever seems to be the most endowed. But it was night after night, fight after fight. I'm so glad that freaking time is over in my life. Night after night, fight after fight, we would keep the boiler burning till the broad daylight. It was night after night, fight after fight, we keep the boiler burning till the broad daylight. Night after night, fight after fight, we were scratching and clawing till everything is alright.
That was great. I definitely heard some Billy Joel in that.
Oh yeah, actually that was the most depressing thing as a songwriter is when you come up with a you're like, oh, this is great, this is perfect, like na 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 na, and then I'm like, wait a minute, Saturday night's all right for fighting, get a little action in. I totally ripped off Elton John, but maybe no one will notice.
Do you know what creativity is?
If you're gonna steal, steal from the best.
It's concealing your source. Come on, man. All right, great. Let me ask you guys about this. You both just did songs that had very specific musical vibes. The chords and the rhythms that you chose were really specific to what you were. How does that affect the interplay between the lyric and the music? What do you think about that? What's your philosophy of that?
Can you repeat the question?
Because here's where I'm coming from. Both of those songs were very almost theatrical. They were so specific to what you were. It was not just I'm gonna write a melody and it's gonna be the prettiest melody to go along with this lyric.
I thought it was kind of a pretty melody.
It was a beautiful melody. but it was so specific to the mood and the vibe of what you were trying to do with your lyric. So was that a conscious thing, or does that just happen for you guys? Is that something that you think about?
Well, for me, since I'm the only person I can speak for, why I keep starting off, I think that for me, as though I'm like speaking for both of us. For both of us, no.
You can.
For me, since what I play is piano, after a while, I've got 55 songs out. And after about song 10, you kind of run out of stuff to make your songs sound different from each other. So I have to start I've noticed the same kind of thing, like I've gotten so, maybe it's because I need to listen to more music, I've started ripping off myself, where I'm like, oh, this is a great tune. I've already written it 3 times, so it's that great of a tune. But I think part of the thing is, part of the reason why I do distinct piano things is partly to differentiate it. And then also, I mean, I like Josh find writing music, like the music part of it, much easier than the lyrics part. Like I always have the music part first. So if it's like and then that kind of ends up inspiring what comes lyrically. So that's what pushes it for me.
I would, I don't know, it's kind of a mix. There are some instances where it's sort of like when you're angry, you're going to speak more loudly, so something like that is going to come out. When you're experiencing some sort of just quiet, quaint, sort of on the pillow feel, then things are a little bit more, they just come naturally to be softer and swooning and that sort of thing. But from time to time, depending on the story that you're telling, yes.
And I tend to write major keys, which are like the happier sounds, for stuff that's sadder. Then stuff that's like more happy, I tend to write with a minor key, partly so it doesn't come across as like, either like Disney Channel or like Russian opera. I don't know if they have a Russian opera. But so I feel like that way it kind of balances it out. If I have something that's like really happy and yay, everything's great. Wow, yay, everything's great. Then I can put it with a minor key, and I think it offsets it a little bit. And vice versa, it's not so tragic if you have it with a major key. So.
Well, there are definitely times with conscious choices where if I'm writing a tune about, she left, haven't heard from her in a while, something like that, then if it's a ballad, I might think, well, this seems a little bit too flowy, a little too catchy, and so I'm like, I need to throw in some polychords or polytonality or in there somewhere, and it just gives it that gruff, sharp, angular, that seems to apply to the situation. So, sometimes, yeah, we throw in stuff, or I throw in stuff, I can't speak for you, but I throw in stuff intentionally to just sort of add some sort of musical dissonance. Sure. This one doesn't have. This one didn't have lyrics, but it's actually a perfect example of what we were just talking about. And it was based off of this rough idea of. I was in a romance. I was dating this girl, and sometimes you don't end up on quite the same page, and they're surprised. Like, I didn't see why you were so invested in this. We were hanging out every day, hanging out every night, that sort of thing, and there's this just complete disjunct, and you're telling different stories, you're looking back at your time together completely differently. And I was just struck with this concept of what else would you expect? How could I not have fallen in love with you? And Billy Joel's latest real album, Fantasies and Delusions, which came out in 2001, a couple of his classical pieces were based off of, he would take a sentence or a phrase, and he would structure it melodically, and then just take that melody and see where it took him. And so I had this voicing for an F minor chord instead of just, you can have something lush or something a little bit more spread out. And so that just sort of spoke to me, and I had this just, how could I not fall in love with you? And I just sort of went with it, so.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Josh. That was great. And I was singing that phrase every
Oh,
time.
it's like, hey, you could hear it. You're like, oh, there it is again.
I also heard a little Vince Guaraldi in the.
Yeah, okay, so Vince Guaraldi's, what was that? Not
What child is this?
Yeah, what child is this? Yeah, he does this like minor, down a major third, and then yeah. Thanks.
Checking your
Very good
sources.
stuff. Love it. All right, Emma, you want to share another one for us?
Sure.
Okay. Whatever you would like to share with us. Take a microphone. All right.
That's smart.
Why didn't we think
Oh,
of that
nope,
sooner?
that doesn't
Oh,
work.
that's why.
It was nice and. It's still smart. Good job. We talked before. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to make a joke about common sense and musicians seldom coming in the same package. You go ahead.
This is a song he talked about how some songs take, like there's a whole process where it just kind of stays forever and you have to keep working on it, and the whole notes on napkins. And this was a song I had written the chorus to, and I thought, this is really brilliant. Humbly speaking, of course. And then I couldn't figure out what to do for the verse, and so I worked on it for like 3 years. And then I decided what I should do is rip off Beethoven, and it worked. It's amazing. So here it is. Thank you. It's another G minor song. I know, isn't it great? This song's great.
I think that song could last.
The street lamps try to do their best, but the night's faded in the west. It's like a night straight out of Poe, and one I'd hate to be alone. But with my ego half full mast, I cannot bring myself to ask you, baby, stay with me tonight. It's a while before the light will wane, and I'd love to have you here to tuck me in. Oh, baby, I hate to be needy, it's just the shadows seem kind of seedy, and I'm begging you to stay here with me. I never liked those girls who cling, needing a man for everything. With batted eyes and pouts intent, they bask in attention spent. But one thing I envy in their bask, they wouldn't hesitate to ask you, baby, stay with me tonight. It's a while before the light will wane, and I'd love to have you here to tuck me in. Oh, baby, I hate to be needy, it's just the shadows seem kind of seedy, and I'm begging you to stay here with me. I didn't write this part either, in case you're confused.
But it's a subtle reference. No one would get it.
I've been the same girl all along, too independent, proud and strong, more like an island and a rock than like a pillow or a dock. But sometimes strength is just a mask. That's why tonight, my love, I ask you, baby, stay with me tonight. It's a while before the light will wane, and I'd love to have you here to tuck me in. Oh, baby, I hate to be needy. It's just the shadows seem kind of seedy, and I'm begging you to stay here with me. Baby, stay with me tonight. It's a while before the light will wane, and I'd love to have you here to tuck me in. Oh, baby, I hate to be needy. It's just the shadows seem kind of seedy, and I'm begging you to stay here with me. Stay here with me. Stay here with me. Stay here with me. Thank you.
That was fantastic. See, I've always been way too self-conscious to try and mix like that level of not just like classical and then some nice jazz swing straight ahead, but like 6/8 over to 4/4, and that was great. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. It was my favorite, my absolute favorite. In fact, I was going to quit music at one point, and some people might say I already have. No, I'm just kidding. But and I was doing classical. I went to classical music camp at FSU. I got into this really exclusive. Woo, thank you. Yay. No, I'm going to get him back. I'm going to get him back. I hate. No, I'm just kidding. But I went there. I was in 8th grade, and I was terrible compared to everybody else there. Like in fact, they were like, okay, let's do 2 hours of practice. And I'm like, 2 hours of practice? Who does 2 hours of practice? I never did. I would basically perform for an hour a day at home for like myself. Where I'd actually clap at the end of the songs I practiced. It's a true story. And and I would I would be so hurt because my family would go and close their doors when I practiced, and I'm like, you guys, a free hour thing every single day. But I was walking around feeling very tortured and sad, and somebody was playing Rhapsody in Blue. One of the professors was playing it and practicing it in his practice room, and I sat in front of the door and was just like, okay, I cannot do anything else. All I want to do is music. So that was my song. That was my saving grace. So.
All right, Josh, I want to ask you if you'll perform another one for us and just tell us a little bit about the song.
Do you want to play one?
Yeah.
Okay.
We want to hear from you guys
It's
tonight.
worth a shot. There was nothing more depressing than, I'm not playing this evening, and everyone goes, ugh.
That way they'll have to come back next time.
Yeah, you will. Oh, let's see. Am I allowed to do an arrangement?
Yes.
Okay, cool. That works. Yeah, that's what I freaking want. Actually, I have to save that for later. This was, see, the only time I write it, oh man, I'm such a musician, sorry. The only time I wrote my own stuff was usually with like, romance and music. I have a very, I really didn't have that many relationships, promise. This was a girl named Katie, and she was always sort of sprightly, and she always had this, what was that? No, yeah. Oh God. Because the other one was about her too. But this was when I first met her. She was very pixie-ish and sprightly, and always seemed like she was suffering from some sadness that didn't really need to be attributed to her. It was kind of sort of a Tinkerbell syndrome of her. So anyway. Janie Lee You bring some adventure to my life when you smile. Oh, you smile. Janie Lee, yours is such a temporary strife. Close your eyes and drift far from this place. My day begins and I am one step closer to my happy end. And then I bend and let it slip that I've got something for you. Just a couple of words, dear, I implore you. Open your doors, 'cause I need you, and that's all I need to know. Close your eyes, take a chance, come alive. Janie Lee, you know, you don't have to wait for me to say it's understood, sweet dreams.
Oh. Very sweet.
Well, thanks.
I think we are going to call the evening to an end, but I was going to see if you would share one more with us, Emma.
Well, thank you, guys.
No, we're not done.
Well, if you want to bring them up to stage.
Well, we can do more. I was just told about an hour, but we can do more if they're willing to do more.
I do have a 2.5-year-old at home who has to be bounced to sleep at some point in the
And
evening.
now we know how you put him to sleep.
But I'd love to do another song. I'm trying to think of what really. Brendan, Truck, and Bert. All right. Yeah, actually, we'll do a Mad Lib song. Come up with, give me some words, and I'll do a song. Free. Oh, no. No covers,
We've
guys.
never heard that before.
It's going to be in G minor. The wine is gone, so are you, my love. The stars are shining bright above. I wish we could stay and play all night. At some point, they're gonna turn out the lights, 'cause the wine is gone. The wine is gone. I cry all day, 'cause until the morning comes. There we go. That doesn't make sense. The wine is gone. The wine is gone.
We'll send him some wine too.
See, the thing is, I didn't come prepared with any lyrics, and this is the. No, I told them that I wouldn't be singing tonight.
Do you want to do a duet?
But I tell you what I will do. I'll sing something. But see, here's the thing. I don't know how you guys are, but for me, I have the hardest time memorizing my own lyrics. Yes. It's much easier to memorize somebody else's lyrics than my own.
Well, anyone else, you're like, oh man, this guy sold so many records. Me, I'm like, I wrote this, and therefore it is crap.
So, what kind of song do you want to hear?
It's 8 o'clock on a Saturday.
Actually, speaking of Billy Joel and that song, I would argue that the greatest single lyric ever written in a pop song is they're drinking a drink they call loneliness, but it's better than drinking alone. That's one of those that I wish I would have written. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna do one that I can remember. See, I'm very limited in my mental faculties. Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as if they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Suddenly, I'm not half the man I used to be. There's a shadow hanging over me. Oh, yesterday came suddenly. Why she had to go, I don't know. She wouldn't say. I said something wrong. Now I long for yesterday. Yesterday, love was such an easy game to play. Now I need a place to hide away. Oh, I believe in yesterday. If you had to pin me down, which would be impossible, but if my life depended on it, I would probably say that's my favorite pop song of all time. Well, I want to so sincerely thank you all for coming tonight. It is so important for the center, for our town, and for the arts to be able to do something like this. It is rare for a town our size to bring a group of people out to do something just to bring the art of songwriting, original songs to the fore. So I do want to thank
Thank
Emma and
you.
Josh. Thank you guys so much for coming. I hope we can have you back.
Yeah, we'd love to come back. This was wonderful. Thank you so much. You guys are the best audience.
Emma has some CDs that she would love to sell you. And she'll stay around to talk to you as long as you want if you'll buy a CD from her. We're going to do this again, I hope. The only way these work is if you come and you invite your friends and we build on the momentum that we're gaining. And let's do this again. Thank you guys for coming. God bless you. We'll see you again soon.